Mary Ellen Pleasant may not be a household name, but her story rivals that of any great American entrepreneur. In the 1800s, Pleasant became one of the first African-American female self-made millionaires in the U.S., despite the significant obstacles she faced as a black woman. Pleasant employed her inherent savvy, building a massive investment portfolio that was reportedly worth as much as $30 million once, a fortune that would make her close to a billionaire in today's value. She put her fortune to aid abolitionist causes across the country while helping slaves escape through the Underground Railroad and settle down in free states. Born in 1814, some biographers say she was born into slavery on a Georgia plantation, though she claimed to have been born free in Philadelphia. Pleasant was separated from her parents at a young age and sent to work as a domestic servant for a white family in Massachusetts, where slavery had essentially been illegal since the end of the 18th century. There, she learned to read and write and work in a shop, but she never had a formal education. Pleasant moved to San Francisco in 1852 during the gold rush. California entered the Union as a free, non-slavery state in 1850. There, she worked as a domestic servant and chef for wealthy businessmen. White, wealthy men would have been dismissive of an African-American woman in their midst, and Pleasant took advantage of that, according to the New York Times. Pleasant used her proximity and anonymity to pick up countless valuable investing tips by listening in on her employer's conversations. One historian posits the possibility that Pleasant worked as a domestic servant specifically to pick up on investment advice and juicy gossip. Pleasant reportedly earned roughly $500 a month as a cook when she first arrived in San Francisco at the age of 38, and invested much of her salary and her savings in real estate and other opportunities she overheard, including gold and silver mines. She also bought various local businesses, starting with laundry. By the 1860s, Pleasant was the owner of a prosperous chain of laundry businesses and a series of boarding houses, where she still often disguised herself as a servant to be more easily overlooked. Pleasant also met a bank clerk named Thomas Bell, who helped her pursue some of her investments as part of what would be a years-long business partnership forged to make both parties extremely wealthy. To avoid discrimination, or simply questions about how a black woman could accumulate a substantial fortune, Pleasant reportedly put many of her investments in the name of Bell, who was white. The two bought shares of laundries, dairies, restaurants, and even Wells Fargo Bank, which was founded in San Francisco in 1852. Some historians estimate their combined fortune eventually totaled more than $30 million, a sum that would be equal to roughly $864 million today, based on inflation. As a wealthy African-American woman in the 1800s, Pleasant built a 30-room mansion worth roughly $100,000 at the time, or about $2.4 million today, in the heart of San Francisco. In her biography, the historian Lynn Hudson describes the estate as a lavishly furnished multi-story Victorian mansion with large grounds. Pleasant lived in the mansion along with Bell and his family, though she also acquired various other properties through the end of the century, including a 985-acre ranch in the Sonoma Valley northeast of San Francisco, a property that is now a vineyard with a bed and breakfast. As a result, she faced animosity and vicious rumors that painted her as merely Bell's mistress and denigrated her boarding houses as brothels while claiming she practiced voodoo. Throughout her life, Pleasant supported causes aimed at ending the practice of slavery, while also working with the Underground Railroad to help slaves escape to freedom. Before landing in San Francisco, Pleasant was married to a wealthy mixed-race merchant and abolitionist, who reportedly left her an inheritance when he died. Once in San Francisco, Pleasant continued to offer financial assistance to former slaves using the money her husband had left her, as well as her own growing fortune. Pleasant often found jobs and housing for African Americans who had escaped slavery via the Underground Railroad. As her fortune and standing in San Francisco society continued to grow, Pleasant publicly took on issues of civil rights, including suing 2 streetcar companies for racial discrimination. Those cases paved the way for the desegregation of the city's streetcars while helping to earn Pleasant recognition as the mother of civil rights in California. While Pleasant's actions earned her local fame, A small park is still named after her in San Francisco. Her wealth did not last until the end of her life. After her investment partner, Bell, died in 1892, his widow sued Pleasant for control of their shared multi-million-dollar fortune. She died in poverty,